Welcome to MTM Travel, where we're going to talk about how Amazon screwed me over, Mark. Looking forward to that
Multiple
discussion.
times. Multiple times. Not once, but twice.
So we're heading into the holiday season, the Christmas holidays, Hanukkah starting this week. New Year's is coming up. Mark's about to hop on a plane to Asia. And not a lot going on, you would think, usually this week, but a lot happened this week too, with Hilton raising their prices on awards and going to like split dynamic award pricing. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Amazon and how they, I don't know, screwed me over with the reselling, and maybe some caution for people who want to do that. But how's your week been, Mark?
Not too bad. I'm just trying to stay away from my kids as much as possible, which is weird to say, with Christmas right here. But of course, they've gone through rotations of cough and runny nose and cough and runny, like they just pass it back and forth around and around. And my daughter's got it the worst right now. And the last thing I want to do is get on a plane congested, because it adds a whole another level. Your ears get plugged, all that stuff. So I'm trying to stay away from it, pounding the zinc and everything else. And I know I think it was it Cathay once that you flew back all congested and it was terrible?
Yeah, it's one of those stories that sucks because it started with a mistake fare. It was an open journey. So I think it was like New York to Milan and then from Prague to Hong Kong. And that was in economy, but it was like $150 for that ticket. And this is early days. I wouldn't fly that today, but I did that a couple days in Hong Kong, and I start getting sick. So on the flight to Hong Kong, I start to get sick, and I end up basically stuck in my hotel room for 2 days in Hong Kong, not really doing anything at all. My last day as I was going to fly out, I was supposed to go to Disneyland, and I was sick, but I was like, I'm feeling a little better. So I went to Disneyland all day, got even sicker, and then I flew home, and I was just chugging 1.5 liter bottles of water. They just kept bringing me bottles of water. I was so sick. And then I remember getting to the American Airlines lounge in New York, because the stupid thing about this, Mark, is I had booked Hong Kong to Vancouver to New York and then New York to LA so I could fly the new American Airlines flagship first and do the lounge. So I had booked the very, very long way home just to fly that product all on the same ticket. And when I got to the lounge, the first class lounge in New York, the lady in their perfect New York voice just like, get the hell away from me, because she said I looked so sick. And luckily they let me fly because I was in rough shape. And then I was in bed for like almost 2 weeks after that. It was just an infection. It took me a while to get over it, but yeah, rough times.
Yeah, we should say this was pre-pandemic, so you don't get canceled, because if you did that now, people would like hate on you nonstop. Which, I mean, there's still people, if you're sick a lot, you don't want to fly and stuff. It's tougher when you're international and you don't know when you can get home, or if you have to be home for something. It's a little bit different if you're in the US and you can be like, all right, I'll, try to fly out in the morning, see if I feel better, stuff like that. But it's always a tough call. Do you, risk it? Do you try to power through it and all those type of things? And sometimes it might not be anything that's contagious anyway, but you don't know that for sure. So it's always a tough traveler's decision right there.
Yeah, that was 2014, 2015. But it sucks to be on the other side of the world and you're so sick that you can barely get up and you're kind of pushing through it. And then, yeah, the flight journey home was crazy. I remember the stupidest thing I did. Part of flying in first class on Cathay and those nicer airlines, you get to do the nicer spirits, nicer food. Well, obviously, I didn't enjoy any of that. I wasn't in the mood to eat. And I remember getting on the plane and I didn't have any champagne, but I did order one drink, the Johnny Walker Blue, which is what I would always get on the plane. And I remember trying to sip the scotch down and it was just disgusting. I couldn't do it. So I had one sip of my Johnny Walker Blue, a bunch of water. I don't know what I ate, but it wasn't much. It was a complete waste of the first class experience on Cathay, but
you should have put
whatever.
some Coke in it and then it would have been okay, right?
But yeah, it's good times. I mean, I wonder out there, leave a comment for your craziest sick story. I do think it's a paranoia that we have as travelers. I've done that too, where somebody gets sick, or you just know you have a big trip and you're trying to make sure that you don't get sick before it, because it really, I mean, it does happen to anybody who travels. You will get sick, or kids will get sick, or something will happen. But yeah, avoiding it is the best thing. And, at the end of the day, you really can't do much about it, though.
No, and I mean, there's a chance that when you're flying, somebody could be sick and not know, and then you get it from that. And halfway through your trip, you're starting to feel kind of in the dumps. Hopefully, it's always like something quick. I mean, most stuff you get over in a day or two. for the most part, when you do get sick, especially this time of year, usually like the flu or some type of cold or something along those lines, and you can power through it a bit after, resting for a day. But it does stink when you're looking at 17 hours on a plane, or, in your case with your stupid itinerary, like 2 days worth of flying, and you're not feeling well, or you're worried about getting sick right before that. It's stressful, and especially with the holidays and all the people that are coming into your life, and you're spending time in your house with family, extended family, all that stuff, and you're like, man, maybe we shouldn't have planned this for this time. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, everybody wants to give you a hug or shake your hand, and you're like, back up there, buddy. I don't need that. I don't need that risk. I think the only thing worse than getting sick yourself, though, is if the kids get sick, because especially when they're little, because then you have to take care of them, and it just sort of messes everything up. At least when you're sick, you're out of the game. But when they're sick, they're out of the game, and they're much needier, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, if my kids were, down for the count, I'd probably cancel the trip. If it was looking like it was, we're 2 days out and they're not looking great, maybe give it another day or something. But I'd rather pull the plug than struggle through half a trip and have it be miserable, and then maybe have the second half be okay. But still, by that point, you're just so frustrated and exhausted. Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier traveling when your kids are a bit older, and even if they are sick, they can, you can leave them in the room by themselves and stuff like that. Like, you can work around it a bit better. But when they're like 3 to 5, it's just awful.
The good news is they generally want mommy. So if you're traveling, mommy has to stay
True.
behind, and daddy can go have fun. I don't know, but that's just been my experience. They want mommy more than daddy when they're sick.
Yeah, I think that's mostly universal, not all the way, but it's just kind of the way it is. Moms are more nurturing and stuff like that, and when they want to have fun, they look for dad. I don't know; those are stereotypes, but they seem to be accurate often.
So I guess we can talk about Amazon and reselling. And I think a lot of people in the hobby used to do this more. I feel like lately buyers groups sort of matured, and people are focusing more on that stuff. Although I do know a lot of people in the Miles and Points hobby who have started the Amazon reselling side business, or I guess you could resell on eBay, Mercari, other places as well. And it sort of took over my life. I guess that would be the biggest caveat for people who have been following me for many years. They would know that. But for people who haven't, you start selling things here and there. Before I knew it, my living room was full, and then I had a warehouse, and it kind of got out of control. So this is a very labor intensive thing to have physical merchandise. So I think that's the first sort of thing that people should consider before they want to get into this.
Yeah, I think it's a step up from reselling gift cards, which has kind of died too. I know some people still do it, but it was really big 10 years ago, and then up until 2-3 years ago, when Best Buy was, you could sell for 99 cents on the dollar, which isn't just insane to think about. But that kind of went away, and ticket reselling is stressful, and you need to know some things, but you can do it all from home and things like that. So this requires you to go to stores or like scour the internet for deals and everything, and then you got to hold the merchandise. Sometimes you've held things for like a year to maximize what you get from it, and I don't think a lot of people are ready for that, especially if your focus is like miles and points. It's just so much easier to do buyers groups and not have to worry about that stuff. You might leave some profit on the table, but do buyers groups, buy gold, buy the mint coins and stuff like that. Just seems a little bit easier.
I totally agree with that. And, the landscape has changed a lot since I started doing this too. I really started it. I was writing on Miles to Memories about a lot of deals. And I remember specifically there was iPad deals at Staples. You could chat and you could do all kinds of discounts. And back then you could sell iPads on Amazon. And so it was a really easy way to get quick profit. And it was, those were the days, man. But Amazon now, they restrict a lot. So if you're a new seller, you can't sell most brands. Pretty much anybody can't sell Apple anymore, but there's a ton of brands like Nike, Lego, just hundreds of brands that they restrict. And that's where I kind of got screwed over here. I've been selling Legos on Amazon for over a decade now. Never had any problems, never any issues. And then one day at the end of October, they just decided to say I couldn't sell Legos. And for people who have been following, I have shifted my reselling. I used to do just about everything, and then I focused in a lot on toys. And then over the last couple of years have been primarily Legos. And I have a decent size collection. You can sell Legos on eBay, other places, but the best place to sell Legos in bulk is on Amazon. and they took that away. It wasn't just me though. There was huge sellers that they just gated, and that's what they call when they restrict you to a certain brand for no reason at all. And they've been doing this on and off for years, but it seems like they're ramping it up. And so basically, you can make a decision to sell on Amazon and have all this inventory, and then one day they can just pull the carpet out from under you. And that's why nobody should really build a business there. And I'm talking about just, I mean, I saw one seller that had, $20 million in inventory that got the rug pulled out from under them.
Yeah, that's Amazon's just evil. I mean, there's no other way to say it. We all use it. It's a necessary evil for a lot of people. Some people just swear it off altogether, but the way they run this business is just insane. It doesn't make sense. These sellers, especially people that have been doing it, for 10, 15, 20 years, helped build Amazon because they couldn't, facilitate all these things. They needed sellers to go get the stuff, bring it to them, ship it. And the really bad part is that you had shipped a huge load of stuff into there. So you spent all the money on freight, and then you got to pay to ship it back, thousands of dollars we're talking about, which is just dirty. Like if you're going to, stop somebody from selling something, be like, hey, going forward, you're blacklisted. Anything we have in inventory, we will let you liquidate or sell. But anything new going forward, that's the way it should be done if you're going to do this. I mean, and even then, if you don't have negative reviews or you haven't had a ton of returns or issues, there's no reason they should stop you from selling. They're getting their cut, they're making money off of this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's terrible, and they're a terrible company. They have been for a long time. I guess the key to it is it doesn't matter how big you are or who you are. This could happen to you. So do you build a business based on that? And a lot of people have. I did. And you're seeing what's happening now. I'll be able to get rid of my inventory in different ways. It won't be as easy. It's a big headache. I was already sort of downsizing my reselling operation. So I guess this just made the decision even easier to do that. But dealing with Amazon over the years has been terrible. They lose inventory, they destroy inventory, they don't want to reimburse you. There's a lot of things that go into this. So if anybody's looking to start a business like this, I would recommend not doing it, or at least know that this is a full-time job. And it's a much more involved business than even talking about gift card reselling, buyers groups, gold, all the other stuff, coin deals, all the other stuff you're talking about. It's a really involved business and something people should think about. Now, on the flip side, there are still other things like eBay, like these other places where if you're really in tune to deals like we are in this space, where maybe you can pick up some stuff and flip them for a nice little profit, and then that can, subsidize your travel or just put a few dollars in your pocket. I think that's not a bad way to go because you are coming across deals all the time. And that's basically how this all started, and you know how it ended.
Yeah, and I think some people use this as a way to, cash out their Dell credits and things like that. So maybe they dabble in it a little bit, sell on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, eBay's even done similar things to this, shutting down people's sellers' accounts without having any real issue, locking up their funds. And that's another thing, even on the buying side. Like if you're a customer of Amazon and you load gift cards into their balance, at any time they can just be like, you know what? We don't know if these gift cards are legit. There's no issue raised. Nobody's claimed that they're stolen or anything like that, but they just don't like that you loaded so many gift cards into their account. So they'll shut down your account, hold your balance, and there's little you can do. And even on the affiliate side, they just come in and adjust, payouts on things, which is their prerogative. They can do that. But even more so than that, they'll shut down affiliates that are doing nothing other than sharing like deals to their readers. And there's an affiliate link that you can use to support them. And they'll just be like, you know what, some rule that you didn't break, we think you broke, and we shut down your account, and we're not going to pay you anything that you're owed. And then they're going to say, there's no way to fight this. There's no number to call. There's no customer service on that side of things, on the affiliate side of things. There's nobody you can talk to, which is crazy because you're driving traffic to their site. I know they don't need it, but obviously they see some value in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the program. So it doesn't make a lot of sense with the decisions they make.
Yeah, and I've watched them on the seller side change their procedures a lot too. And it used to be easier to get reimbursements. If something goes wrong, it's almost impossible to get somebody now. They have a computerized menu program that you have to learn how to get through. And most of the time, the AI wants to try to solve something, but it's not what it's trying to solve. So you have to almost be an expert in their system just to get to somebody. And then when you do, the first 3 times they respond, it's going to be a cut and paste response. And then you have to fight them on that and fight them again. And you're never talking to somebody who has any authority or knowledge. And you have to go through a million levels in order to just get to somebody who can help you. This is the way Amazon runs their seller stuff. Yeah, I mean, Amazon's a terrible company. I don't know anybody who thinks that they are a great company. They're necessary. I mean, they have that huge marketplace. I still shop on Amazon. I wouldn't tell you not to because there's convenience and other factors there. But I wouldn't base my business or base anything that I'm relying on Amazon, whether it is affiliate stuff. Yeah, we have been lucky enough not to have that happen to us or me at Miles to Memories, but we've seen it happen to other people for seemingly no reason. And this can be it's huge and they don't care because you're just a number. And I get it. They're the largest e-commerce platform. And, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter how big you are, what you've done. Just understand that that's your place in the world. And I guess if you can operate within that, then it's all good.
That's what's crazy. Like if you're a really successful reseller, you have great 5-star reviews, you've sold, tens of millions of dollars and stuff, and they've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off you in fees and everything. And it's also like the reason that they can sell these Prime memberships and all these things is because the sellers provide stuff for everything that they wouldn't be able to house or ship if they didn't have these sellers going out and procuring the things for them. So, and they'll just be like, you know what, you're done. You're cut off. It's the weirdest business model. They're like too big to care, I guess. Instead of too big to fail, they're too big to care. But it's kind of crazy. And we see that with, there's no real perfect solution out there. eBay has the same problems. Facebook Marketplace, people get ripped off all the time. I always say when I sold stuff would be like, meet me at a bank so that you can check the bill. The teller can check the bills, make sure they're legit, or meet me out in front of a police station so there's cameras there. But I had a buddy that showed up to sell a PlayStation. They just grabbed it and ran. Luckily, the police tracked the person down and everything, but still, that's $500 he might have been out if, they didn't catch up to him. He didn't get the stuff back. It's just a crazy world. And if there was something out there that was like seller friendly, and somebody should make it like, hey, we see eBay, Amazon, all that stuff isn't seller friendly. Let's go to the other side of things where we treat the sellers really well. But I don't know. Walmart is kind of junky too, right?
Yeah, they're a little better to deal with as a seller. But I don't know, it just doesn't deliver in the same way. And I have limited experience with them recently. I used to use them a lot more. I am approved on Walmart and I will be selling more on there. I just haven't done it this holiday season. But yeah, I just want to warn people out there. And there was also a scenario that he wanted me to talk about that I don't want to talk about, where I was defrauded out of $8,000, basically a payout, an entire 2-week payout for sales. Somebody had hacked our Amazon account. I would never receive notice of this. They changed the bank account, and I noticed it the day it happened that the payment came. It didn't come, and they had changed the bank account. Tried to contact Amazon. Basically told me I was out of luck. Everybody else told me I was out of luck, and I had to eat the $8,000. There was no way to get it back. There was no way to trace anything, and I don't have much more security, I guess, on my seller account. So I guess you could say it's my fault. It is what it is. It's been a couple years now. I've had to accept it, but it was a painful loss, that's for sure.
If you caught it right away, it's not like they couldn't have stopped that transfer. They couldn't have done something. They couldn't have gotten with the bank, or at least helped with an investigation or something, gotten with police, something along those lines. Like the fact, and we're going to talk about this on 20-Minute Travel, later this week. Like they sued, CFPB is suing Zelle because they don't have enough protections and there's a lot of fraud going on there. And this is like, kind of a financial institution, in a way to sellers, but you don't have any type of protections, which is scary when you think about it. And at any time, like I said, they can lock up your gift card balance. This thing goes wrong. They're like, hey, sorry, you got hacked on our system, but it's your fault. And it's just kind of crazy that they don't work with you. And it's scary. I mean, $8,000, that can be months worth of work, your profit gone for a long time. And you just know that all those hours you invested, all that effort is gone in the snap of a finger, essentially.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. It was impossible almost to reach somebody at Amazon. It took almost a week to get to somebody who was a manager who basically told us there's nothing we're going to do or can do. This was the account. We're not going to go to the bank. And I tried to go other places, but there really wasn't, because it wasn't my bank that was involved. So there really wasn't much else for me to do. Filed a report about it. Nothing ever happens. Didn't have insurance for online cyber theft. So, you eat it. So that's something to consider too if you have these types of businesses.
That was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and probably people should have it.
Yeah, I mean that's if you take nothing from this. If you want to get into reselling or what or you are right now, this is something that I think you should look into. That's crazy that we have to have that. But they're transferring money to a bank account. It definitely didn't match your name. So how is that not a fraud alert immediately? Like this does not match the seller's name. New bank account should be like a 24-hour when you change. There should be some type of built-in security there, but the fact that they don't match, that should kick it back. I can't even transfer from one bank to the next if I have my middle name on one bank and not on the other. They kick it back most of the time. How does Amazon not have something similar set up?
I'm assuming they changed the name too. I didn't get
Uh,
access to be able to see that. They locked it up. They put everything back once they investigated all this. So I didn't get to see what exactly happened or who got it, or they wouldn't give me that information. Again, I filed a report, but I mean, how much time and effort are you going to spend to try to get to somebody who could, help you? I don't know. Maybe I should have spent more, but I spent quite a bit of time realizing that it was sort of a dead end for me. And then you have to figure out whether you have to cut your losses, which is a lot of losses. It was as you remember, this was a couple years ago. I was very bitter about this. I do think they have upped the way that they notify people when the account has changed. So I do hope that I do believe that they have adjusted to make this a little bit better for people so it doesn't happen. But it's painful. And things
yeah,
like this do happen in the hobby, though, where we take losses, we lose gift cards.
yeah.
You have to sort of be prepared on the wider scale, whether it's the reselling, but just in general, we've talked about people, floating money they can't afford. And yeah, so things do go wrong when you're playing games like this.
Yeah, and I have a similar story with Amazon on the buyer side. I bought, and you we're just talking about like, eating gift cards. I bought $400 in MasterCard gift cards, $200 each, like the ones you can get at the office stores and things like that. And I was just buying them in, the 5% cards when it was that time of year or whatever. And I had done this several, gift cards, no issues. All of a sudden I get two shipped to me that they forgot to scan and activate before they mailed them out. Didn't think it'd be a big deal. I called the, back of the card to see what was going on, why they weren't working. They said, "Hey, these were never activated. Fill out everything at Amazon, say these were never activated, give them all the info. All they have to do is call the company and see if they were activated or check their scans on their side." They're like, "No," all they say is, "No, it was delivered." I said, "Yeah, I agree it was delivered. I never said it wasn't delivered. I said it was delivered inactivated." Fought and fought, didn't get anywhere. Filed a chargeback with the credit card company, and Amazon just said it was delivered. Here's the tracking. And I'm like, and they're like, "Well, we sided with Amazon." I'm like, "What do you, that's not all what the case was about." They're like, "Unless you get something in writing from the MasterCard issuer that says that they weren't activated, we cannot do anything." And I was like, at that point, I had spent, 10 hours on this going back and forth with Amazon before filing this report. I just said, "You know what, I'm going to eat it. I don't feel like tracking this down." It was now like 2 months later, and I calling those MasterCard companies, Visa companies, you're always dealing with overseas call centers. They're kind of terrible. And I just said, "I'm going to eat it."
And I think that goes back to the point we've always talked about when you're doing this, whether it's a reselling business or any type of business dealing to generate miles and points or anything, whether it's buying gift cards, you need to factor in losses. And, don't do this for like, people who are doing things, they're reselling something at a loss to generate points, or, you think about that stuff, or even the buyers groups where they have these negative, these deals where you're not quite recouping everything. Just factor in your time, the potential headaches you're going to have. Make sure that you are coming out ahead on the other side so that when something like this happens, you can make the choice to kind of cut your losses and run, even though it does suck and, the world isn't perfect. But it's nicer to be able to do that than to say, "Oh my God, I'm losing money everywhere and I can't really take this loss."
Yeah, I think you need to factor that in, especially resellers. If you're reselling, definitely factor that in. Buyers groups too, though. Sometimes they lose stuff and they won't, refund you for it, and you have to eat that. And other times, you stuff gets sent to them, they check it in, and then Amazon or whoever you bought it from says, "Oh, we lost it in shipping because the tracking goes bad." So you kind of like make it back. They got something free from you, or you didn't pay for it because they messed up, things like that. But over time, you're going to come out slightly negative. So make sure the payoff's enough, whether it's through portal cashback that you're getting on top of the credit card rewards, something, build in a couple percentage points there of making it worthwhile. And Today I had to chat with Amex because the Universal hotel I booked through FHR didn't credit properly. Didn't get my $200 credit. It's been 2-3 weeks now. So I reached out last time a couple days ago, and they said it's got to be 14 days before we can manually credit it. Reached out again today, and they tried, of course, to say, well, it can take up to 90 days. And I'm like, you know what? None of your stuff has ever taken 90 days and then credited. It's either it credits within 7 to 10 days or shorter, or it doesn't credit at all. Just give me my manual credit, push back a little bit more, and they finally were like, all right, it's been processed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to push back, factor in your time, just the time tracking everything and the potential, make sure it's valuable there. In the early days of when I would go do Bluebird and stuff like that, I would factor in like $100 an hour. That's how much I would try to get back in value. And I often could get that at the time. I stopped worrying too much about that, just making sure I oftentimes get more than that, but I stopped looking too much at the value, but making sure everything I'm doing is a positive value thing, make sure I'm tracking all my time and accounting for it. And, it's really interesting because the reselling is sort of tapering down for me. I do need to get back into some more traditional ways of
Yeah.
generating points. So that'll be
It's
an
gonna be a
interesting,
struggle.
2025 will be an interesting thing. And I'll make sure to cover a lot of it here to show people getting back in. I've done all the things, but not all the things lately. So yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, you might actually use those city thank you points. You're going to be happy you have them now.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I got them. I mean, I feel like 2025, I'm good, but I need to start working for the future. I had so many points coming out of COVID and just so many points, and I've been able to sort of rest on that and do some low hanging fruit, sign up for some new cards, but I haven't been playing the game as aggressively. And I didn't travel as much this year, but I am somebody who travels a lot and doesn't need a lot of points unless I want to pay cash, which I don't want to do, especially with hotel rates. So yeah, there'll be a lot of that in 2025. I think me sort of getting back into pushing the limits on some stuff and, having fun, get back into the fun of this. Cause a lot of this can be fun. That's the other side of it. If it's fun for you, then there is some sort of value calculation and just the fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing my runs to stores and driving around town and stuff and seeing the same people every week. And I mean, there's definitely days where I'm like, I really don't want to go out and do like I just should skip today. But then you're like, if I skip today, I'm gonna feel bad about it. And I have these certain goals I want to hit, and I got to book this and I got to book that. So you still get out there and do it. But I like this time of year. I usually give like anybody that I see on a regular basis, and that is always nice and cordial because if they're make things easier on me, one, it saves me time, and two, it saves me worry or hassle when you go into a store and stuff, and them being like, what, why are you buying that? Or what are you doing with that? The easier it gets, the more streamlined it gets, the better. So I always go around and give people gift cards, whether it be like a Speedway clerks, I'll just give them a Speedway gift card so they can buy coffee for the crew and stuff like that. Or the bank I go to the most office, I give them like a gift card for a pizza place so they can get lunch and things. And I give those out a little bit, and it's well worth the money, to thank them, and they remember it and they appreciate it big time. And it just kind of greases the wheels a bit. It's it's playing the game at the next level. And I encourage anybody that you see on a regular basis. These people are doing, jobs that they're dealing with people that are just rude and upset all the time. And, somebody bringing a little bit of cheer to them, joking with them, and, appreciating them, it goes a really long way.
And there could be a lot of people in this hobby that are cheap. I think a lot of people find this hobby because they're cheap. I know I did because I like deals and stuff like that, but not traditionally cheap. And so what you're talking about, people are not always thinking like, yeah, spend a little money, but like you say, you get a lot more in the long run and you're putting good things out into the world. So it's a positive all around. But yeah, sometimes people can get focused on the cheapness of it. Like, I don't want to spend this dollar here, but they don't understand the $10 in benefits that dollar is getting them. And
Yeah.
so that's always a skill in this hobby that we can work on.
Yeah, I think that, the first thing everybody struggles with is taking on credit cards that have annual fees. That's the first hurdle everybody gets to. Like, why would I do that when there's cards that don't have annual fees? And anybody that listens to this probably understands you get way more points, better earning structure, more perks, all that stuff. And then other things is earning points that cost money, and you have to keep it within realm, like of something that makes sense. But a lot of people are like, oh, I only want to do office store deals because it's no fee. And it's like, yeah, but you're dealing with $200 gift cards. It's a real pain in the butt. I'd rather get a $500 one with a fee. And there's ways you can earn points on those, and there's deals to be had throughout the year where they give like $10 off or something like that. So you can still make it work and average it out, but you just have to make sure that it's within the realm of what you're okay with spending. But don't be afraid of, putting out a little bit of money. You make more in return. The business saying of got to spend money to make money. Same thing applies here.
For sure. And you need to do that because you need more Hilton points, Mark. Because we talked about in 20-minute trial on the news show. Yeah, I mean, I think this warrants a longer segment. We talk about it on the news show this week, kind of covering this. But you noticed this with the Waldorf in Cabo, that the pricing was changing, and then pretty quickly it spread that this was happening everywhere across all the Hilton properties. Basically higher prices, but also another quirk that's not good either.
Yeah, it was actually Rick, our buddy Rick, that noticed it because he's, Cabo is his favorite hotel in the world. He goes like 2-3 times a year. So he's always looking for availability. And he was, looking to check and book something, and noticed on Thursday, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, it was still 120K a night. And then Friday morning when he was looking, it jumped up to 140K most nights. And now it says like from 120K when you pull up that hotel. And that's what's weird. All he could find was 140K throughout the calendar. But then we kind of dug into other places, and like the Conrad in Bora Bora, we noticed that it says from 120K, but on like back-to-back days this month of December, you could get a night for 120K, and then the next night was 130K, but they both said standard awards. And we have not seen that before with Hilton. They have a dynamic pricing that once standard rooms are gone, they can price it however they want. But usually the standard rooms were static, and we didn't know exactly what categories were each hotel was because they don't have an award chart, but you could kind of figure it out from the standard pricing. And now it seems like they kind of leaned into like what Hyatt has and stuff. Maybe they have like a peak, off peak type pricing. So each hotel will have prices all over, and everybody was just saying it as a devaluation that all awards have gone up. That's not true. Because I looked at the Conrad in Bora Bora at the end of next year. If you're looking a year out, they still had 120K rooms, and then they had 130K rooms too throughout the year. So it's variable standard award pricing now is basically what it is.
Yeah, I think comparing it to Hyatt is probably the easiest thing to do in terms of miles and points on how it works, meaning one night might be one night, a more peak night will be higher. I think the highest that I had read was 150,000 across any of the hotels, which I thought about this in 2013 when I started Miles to Memories, Mark. I believe the top Hilton redemption was 50,000 points.
Yeah.
So we have now tripled that in the course of a little over 10 years.
Yeah, think about how valuable Hilton points were back then. They were worth like over a penny a piece most times. 50K was the top. It was probably the best program out there with the earning and everything else that you got. And then overnight they raised the at that point it went up to like 95K and everything, and basically they cut the price of their, I don't think we've ever seen a devaluation that bad, where they essentially cut the value of their points in half overnight without anything. And now we see it's gone from 95K up to 150K, which the Waldorf Astoria, New York City, that we talked about in the previous episodes of 20-minute travel, that's where that one's at. And now, and I think all of these we're going to see push up to that level. It's just, they don't communicate at all. They do whatever they want. And this has got to come to a head at some point. We're seeing the CFPB file a lawsuit saying, if you sign up for this credit card saying you can earn Hilton points and they're worth about this, and you're promoting you can stay at this hotel, and then overnight you devalue it, aren't you kind of misleading? That's interesting because they're not allowed to change things for a year, but they on the credit card, but they can change the program. But isn't that changing the credit card essentially? What you earn, the value of your earn, cashback is always going to be cashback. But these things, the fact that they can, take this point that's worth a cent and make it worth half a cent overnight, that just cut your earning rates on your credit card in half. And if you just signed up, that should be illegal.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. If anything, they'll just make them come up with new rules on how they market stuff to make sure that there's no values or anything there. Terms and conditions. I mean, if we've both gone through terms and conditions of these programs. They're, hundreds of pages long, and they have all kinds of caveats for how the program can do it, how they can kick you out. We've even seen Hilton kick people out of the Hilton Honors program for complaining too much. We've talked about that on previous shows and written about that in the past. So it really is their world, and we're living in it. I mean, I guess the good news is the more they raise prices, the better those free night certs look now, because we just keep thinking we're getting a better and better value. But how long before they pull the carpet out on that one? I have to think it's coming. The whole point of this in miles and points, what we have seen, having covered this for so long, is it's just a maturation. I wrote maybe 9, 10 years ago, technology is our enemy. And that is the truth. Technology keeps getting better. Algorithms get better. They have AI to analyze the data. They're looking at everything and maximizing everything. And the old system of categories and, every hotel fits into this category is going to be this flat price. That is not efficient for the hotel companies. They're not making the most money that way. It's pricing everything on the high end and then based on what the actual property is. And that's those cash prices, that, like you said, their premium rewards with Hilton, how they price them insanely. Yeah, it's just going to keep getting worse, but free night certs, man, that's great. I'm going to love it. I still get my status through the credit card. Internationally, I get treated pretty well. I just need to keep earning more Hilton points, I guess. They're pretty easy to earn, at least.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the benefit of the program is that they're so easy to earn on their own. They don't require a transfer partner or anything like that to get it done either. And it's just something that you have to consider, and it's part of playing the game. And you just always need to be reevaluating, see what works for you, and things like that. But we see this outside of the miles and points space. Like, my Lions season tickets have doubled in price over the last 2 years. One, because they're good, but even more so, they have the data, and a lot of people, it's so easy to click through and list your tickets on Ticketmaster through your Lions login that they get a cut of that. One, but two, they get all that info. They don't have to go searching for it. It's basically it comes out for them. So they're seeing what these tickets are selling on the secondary market. And for some games, it's 3 to 4 times the face value, and they're like, "Whoa, we're charging way too little for this," even though season ticket holders that have been there 10, 15 years went through 0-16 terrible seasons. They're sticking it to those people too, because they're like, it's a commodity. This is what it's valued on the secondary market. We have other people willing to pay for it, so we're going to charge that. And that is in part due to technology. Before, when you'd sell it, outside the stadium, when you didn't list it online, they had no clue what they were going for, but now they do.
Yeah, and it's them wanting to get their piece of the action, and everybody wants to do that. Going back to Amazon, Amazon has been sued and accused of taking the data that they have on third-party sellers, the really good products, they go and they knock it off and they make their own version of it, because now they're collecting all the data on all of us third-party sellers so they can see what sells good, what doesn't, what their margins could be, and then they just go do it themselves for the good stuff. And so, yeah, we're all at a disadvantage here with the data that they have. And technology is our enemy for people like us who want to maximize things. But then there's always going to be gray areas. There's always going to be, not optimized things that we can take advantage of. There's always going to be places to operate within all of it, because they're not accounting for us, because we're just a minority of people out there. They're accounting for the masses. And so these programs are going to generate them profits. And hopefully we can find ways to operate where we can still get our quote unquote free travel.
Yeah, and especially, when something first rolls out, fintechs or new credit card products or new banks issuing credit card, a lot of times they don't or just promos, they don't properly vet it or, think outside the box a little bit. And that's where we kind of live, and that's what we're good at, and that's where the value is. More mature programs or somebody that's been through it. But even like American, switching to loyalty points and spend and stuff, at times, like when it first goes, you're like, oh, whoa, if I can do this, it's way easier to earn it for me than it was previously by flying and stuff like that. So there's always going to be room for improvement. But yeah, going back to the free night certificates, I definitely think something's going to happen there at some point. We've seen them getting better. Remember when they were only Friday to Sunday nights, which was so stupid, but they're really the only uncapped one left. We've seen everybody else kind of roll theirs back, put a cap on it. IHG used to be the best cert for value that you could get for the annual fee, and now Hilton has that. Do they keep it there because it's a reason to spend on your credit card? Maybe, but I could see them saying, maybe going above a certain cap and adding new category levels and saying that the cert doesn't work on those, something like that.
So copying Hyatt again, maybe that's what Hyatt basically did, created category 8. And then they never changed the category 1 through 7 certificate. Of course, last year they launched the ultimate free night.
what is with the stupid 6 months on the ones you earn from elite nights? Why are those not a year? It's so annoying.
Yeah, I've lost a couple, but thankfully they you're not lost them, but they will give you points for them. For people out
Yeah.
there that know, they generally give you 20. It's not a published thing, so not guaranteed, but they've always done it for me. But I have lost some of those just because the expiration's so quick, and the stupid me trying to maximize. Although
Yep.
knowing I can get 20,000 points, that's always sort of in my back of my head. It's like, all right, do I need to force myself to use this, or could I just put the points in my account and have the more flexibility there? So that's sort of my decision on that.
Yeah, and we should say the ones from the credit card you cannot get points from because those come from Chase, but any that you earn from elite status comes from Hyatt, so you can get points for those usually. But that should be like your baseline. If you have the cert, it expires in 6 months, and you have a 25K or 27 or 28K or whatever that peak is, it might as well do it because it's above 20,000. Yeah, we all hope to maximize it for as high as possible. But anytime I'm staying at a hotel that's 12K or above with the category 1 to 4, I'm using that cert. I don't care if I end up staying at a category 4 later on, and it's standard or peak, because at least I know I used it. I try to use certs before points if at all possible. And I was just joking with our buddy Matt, who I'm going to Asia with, because Conrad there, I wanted to use my free night certs, just locked 2 of them up. It's only 70K a night, but I was like, hey, that's good enough for me to use. I prefer to be like 90K or above. 70K is kind of my min, but I know I'm going to have 4 more rolling in at the beginning of next year. I don't want to be sitting on 6. I'm going to use them. But of course, they're playing games that you have to book 2 nights to be able to get standard room availability. So I couldn't use them, use points, and I'm very pissed about it.
The games that they play, Mark. I guess that's the
Yeah.
the sum of this whole episode. The games that they play, we're going to play games back. We're going to try to win within the margins, and hopefully we do. I think we both won pretty good. We've had some great trips. You're taking one. So many amazing opportunities because of this hobby and everything we do. I feel like there was a lot of complaining here, but really not. Like all of this is going to happen, and then you can make a decision either to be negative about it and to see all of this bad stuff and say, oh, this is too much, or you can make the decision to say, okay, this is the world, and I'm going to operate here and figure out ways to get my miles points, my travel, and open up this world of possibilities. And we know that that's happening because it's happened for us, but we talk to so many people in the community that it's happening for every day. And I guess that should be the takeaway.
Yeah, I think this is more just like a, hey, be aware that this is what can happen if you do these things, and just expect it, because at some point you're going to get the rug pulled out from under you, whether it be on that redemption you were chasing or the earning you were hoping for, or if you're reselling, you're going to take losses here and there. And it's just a part of it. Factor it in the best you can. Don't be oblivious to it and think that everything is going to go smoothly. Like we said, we still buy on Amazon. If you could still sell Legos on Amazon, I'm pretty sure you would. Things like
Yeah.
that. Like it's just, going in there with your eyes wide open is the key here, and understanding that and working within that.
So yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year's next week, I guess. But this will be your last podcast before you get on that trip. So when you come back, we'll hear all about your escapades, and hope everybody has a great holiday season. It's so cool for me. I'm Jewish and we celebrate both holidays here, but this year, Christmas and Hanukkah, like Hanukkah starts on Christmas, which is super weird. So it's all happening at once.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think it usually happens like before Christmas, right? So this is like one of the years that it's later. So that's kind of interesting and fun.
Yeah, it can be as early as like the end of November. It's based on the Jewish calendar. So every year it's different. So this year, no early Hanukkah. Everything's happening at once, kind of keeping everything concentrated. Lots of fun. Looking forward to that. The kids are out of school. It's a great time. And we have a lot of Vegas content for people who want to check out MTM Vegas. A lot of cool stuff happening over there. We also have 20-minute travel coming on Wednesday with all the news this week. So look forward to that. Mark, I'm jealous of your trip. I want to go. I want to book my last minute Singapore Air flight just so I can spend 17 hours on a plane.
I see. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like love it because I don't have to go anywhere or do anything and just relax for once in the first time in 5 years, or if I'm gonna be like, after 8 hours, I want to get off this thing. But we shall see how it all plays out. And yeah, we're dropping a podcast on Christmas. How if you get tired of your family, there you go. You can listen to 20-minute travel.
Yeah, listen to all the news on Christmas, just what you guys dreamed to do. But Mark is going to go enjoy the hawker centers. I mean, God, Singapore, man, you're in for a treat. So can't wait to hear about all of that. Everybody have an amazing Christmas. And yeah, watch us talk about all the news on Christmas Day. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Happy holidays, everybody.